Physiologically, there are three types of breath: chest breath, abdominal breath, and a combination of the two. Chest breath comes into play when we need to get up and go, whereas abdominal breath is used in more restful activities like yoga and meditation. When it comes to breath work, utilizing a well-rounded combination of both chest and belly is best. Belly breathing pushes the diaphragm muscle located at the base of the lungs down toward the guts, giving them a gentle massage. Chest breathing, on the other hand, expands and contracts the ribs. More often than not, when I ask clients to take a deep breath, they think I mean a deep belly breath. And that's probably because the most common reference point for breath work in our culture is yoga. But if belly breathing is the only type of breath work we do, we're potentially missing out on 5 out of the 6 possible planes of breath. So let's take a moment to visualize the entire lung compartment in a box. That box has a top and a bottom, 2 sides, and a front and back. Respectively, this would be your shoulders, your diaphragm, the left and right sides of your body, your front side, and your back side. Belly breathers generally breathe into the front of their body, working toward increasing access and space toward the diaphragm and belly below. When we direct all of our breathing effort toward the belly, we may not have enough lung capacity or structural space to intake additional air into the chest, let alone the sides or the back. So while we won't toss aside belly breathing altogether, we do want to recognize that there are many other spaces to expand into when taking a deep inhale. To start your breath assessment, start by breathing naturally, as you would while making dinner or reading a book. Notice the areas that you're able to expand into and those that might feel restricted or stiff. At first, don't try to change anything, just notice. When you've identified where your lung compartment is expanding most and where it's expanding the least, pick an area between the two and work there first. To begin the breath work itself, allow yourself to feel expansion in the areas that are moving best. Use that awareness to visualize the sense of accessibility creeping toward the midpoint, gradually working your way toward the more restricted areas as these midpoints soften and begin to move. Try asking yourself to breathe into areas you don't usually, areas that almost sound silly, like your armpits or your elbows. You can use images of breathing into and out of certain areas of your body that have nothing to do with your respiratory system, like your feet. This helps to visualize the path and territory of breath differently. What is it like to breathe into the soles of your feet and exhale out the top of your head? Remember, you exist in 360 degrees in at least 3 dimensions. The backside of our bodies often get neglected for the front-facing go-getting of today's world. Remember your backspace. Breathe into your nose. Let the air hit the throat and notice your breathing tube. As you breathe, imagine each of your ribs in your rib cage are like ribs in a fan. As a fan opens, the ribs would expand, and as the fan would close, ribs are squeezed together. Or, as you inhale, you can imagine that the sternum, which is the center bone in your chest, is rising and falling like the handle of an old-school water pump. If you like this imagery better, you can picture your rib movement like the handle of a bucket, being raised up and down as the bucket is picked up and set back down. Now let's talk about a few breath exercises more specifically. Now we're going to talk about what I call the 6-sided breath. Our lung compartment has a front, a back, a top and a bottom, and 2 sides. Generally, most of us can breathe into the front body fairly well, with the chest and the belly being most accessible. Some people defer to the chest and some to the belly, but most of us breathe into the front body fairly well. If you're trying to expand your breath practice or expand the amount of oxygen you're able to intake, think about exploring expansion into other planes, including the sides, top and bottom, and the back. In order to do this, let's just take a few normal breaths and explore where breath expands into easily in our lung compartment and where it might be more challenging. If you notice that it's difficult to expand into the sides of your lung compartment, you might think about breathing into an area that you haven't already thought of, like the armpits or the elbows. It may sound funny, but just give it a try. By breathing into an area we haven't thought to before, we can actually find expansion that we might not otherwise. The ribs, as we inhale, expand open like a fan, and as we exhale, close back together. So you can think of that image instead if breathing toward the armpits or the elbows doesn't bring many results for you. If you're trying to breathe into the top or bottom of the lung compartment, you might want to consider the fact that the lungs come all the way up toward the collarbones, and so we can expand much higher toward our shoulders than we might think. So you might try breathing toward the earlobes, or breathing toward the hips. If it's the backside of your body that finds less expansion in breath, there are a few different cues you can use. The first one I like to think of is breathing in through the nose and allowing yourself to feel air hitting the backside of the throat. The backside of the throat connects to the front side of the spine and can help us connect to the backside of the lungs all the way down because of the innervation there. So go ahead and take a few deep breaths, just noticing that contact of the air on the back of the throat. As you do so, feel the air traveling down the back of the throat toward the backside of the lungs. If this doesn't give you the results you're looking for, you might think about sitting into a chair that has a high back. It could even be your car seat or your couch. The contact on the backside of your body might help your nervous system awaken in that area and help to expand breath there. By expanding breath into all 6 of these compartments, we maximize on our oxygen intake and we help regulate the nervous system. When we breathe into the 6 sides of the lung compartment, we can deprogram old patterns that may be dysfunctional for our biomechanical body or even our nervous system. By using a breath technique like this, you can help settle your system and increase the amount of oxygen to the rest of the body. By expanding our ability to breathe into the back sides of our lungs, we're helping to increase our awareness of the entire back sides of our bodies. We can sense into our environments better, and in a somatic way, we can help calm and regulate the nervous system. Next, we're going to do what's called the coffee straw breath, or the shh exhale. This technique is used to help engage a particular layer of the abdominal muscles known as transversus abdominis, otherwise known as TA. The job of TA is to hold our organs in and to relate our rib cage to our hips posturally. It's largely an involuntary muscle, but it can become dormant with too much sitting or underuse. So to turn that layer of our abdominals back on, we can help settle other muscles that might have tried to take over this job. Start by taking a large inhale and exhale through the smallest circle you can create with your lips, as if you had a coffee straw between them. This engagement of the lips unconsciously helps engage that layer of our abdominal muscles. You might also try something that a lot of vocal teachers use, which is to make a shh sound as you exhale instead of pursing the lips together. So let's try that. Take another big inhale and exhale through that sound. Shh. If you start by just taking a few normal breaths and sensing what's happening in the abdomen, you'll notice that there is no engagement for most of us without doing these sounds, if TA has fallen into disuse. But you'll notice as you hold your belly, when you do these exhales, either through the circle or through the sound, shh, that you have gentle engagement in that abdominal layer. That's how you'll know you're turning TA on properly.